الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a Wednesday. And you know that Wednesday, today I'm very happy. I'm pumped today, actually. So you might be asking, why exactly am I pumped? You know, in the Arab literature, they have this thing where this person says something, and then he says, ask me why. You know, if you read a lot of Arabic books and stuff, and athar, and the way that the early Muslims used to talk, they say something like, I'm happy today. And who will ask me why I'm happy? They talk like that. But anyway, I'm happy today because finally we got something. To me, it's very important. The back of our soup kitchen, it's got all the air conditioning pipes. And they're collected around... They're all collected in a white pipe. And then they go down the building like this, and then they go around the basement, which juts out a little bit. And that's where people are going to live. And we're very close to getting the permit for that. So every time I go back there, our soup kitchen, it is, without a doubt, the prettiest house in New Brunswick. And now we're going for the prettiest building in New Brunswick, like a tourist attraction level. So right now, though, that pipe bothers me. Big white bunch of cords covered in a white pipe that goes down the back of the building. So I've been saying, I said, I need to do something about this. Finally, with our team that does the gardening, we got vines, and we're going to put ivy. And yesterday we planted the ivy, and we put the ivy up. It was already long. We put the ivy, we snaked it around those cords and put it up there. And it's just going to be a matter of time that ivy will cover all of that stuff. Now, ivy is such a thing that if you needed to do work behind the ivy, you could just cut it. They'll grow back. It's like a really strong plant. So many people told me, don't do it. You'll never be able to get rid of it. I don't want to get rid of it. Now, what's easier? Getting rid of the ivy? Cutting ivy? And why would it be difficult? $100, I'll pay someone else to do it. You think I'm going to do it? I could if I wanted to. But what's easier? Getting rid of the ivy, which is a maybe. You'll ever want to get rid of the ivy in the back, or looking at something that you're not happy with? Cheap people are unhappy. You know that? People who are cheap, they're always unhappy. Okay? They're always unhappy because they never want to spend on anything. And I remember reading a saying says, no one ever regrets, right, and thinks back, and no one ever thinks back and says, man, I'm so happy I saved an extra $500 on this, right? You don't even remember your savings, but you do think in the future, and you forget about the payment, and you think into the future about how happy you are with what you spent. So we're still on this mission, little by little, to become not only the nicest house in New Brunswick, which we have already secured that designation. We want to be the nicest building in New Brunswick. And we're going to get there, little by little. But first, as Elif is firing things up, we're going to read from Dr. Salah Abu al-Hajj in Hanafi Fiqh, And I'm going to read a fatwa which some of the Dar al-Ulum ulama will disagree with. But nonetheless, we're reading fatwa. And that's the nature of fatwa. Some agree, some disagree. Nobody could say that this fatwa is or isn't absolute truth. That will be jahl. That is literally jahl. Okay? إن تحريم الأخذ منها يعني من اللحية, the prohibition of taking anything from the beard, كما هو شائع بين العوام محل النظر, as many people think, is a subject matter that requires thought. It's not clear cut. So there are things that are clear cut you don't need to think about. Like 2 + 2 doesn't need thinking. But 1/4 of a fifth of 40, that requires thinking. Okay? You'd have to say, well, what's 1/4 of a fifth of 40? So what's 1/5 of 40 is 8. What's 1/4 of 8? 2. Right? So that requires some thought. وكذلك جواز الأخذ منها على الإطلاق. والصواب هو التفصيل بما يوفق بين الآثار الواردة في المسألة كما بينه فقهاؤنا الأجلاء. Okay, so he says here that the permissibility of taking anything from it, the beard, also needs to be discussed. And he said the truth is, the sawab, so I shouldn't say the truth, I said what is correct. Okay, what is correct is that there's tafsil. فعن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال, he first narrates from Sayyidina al-Imam ibn Mas'ud, الصحابي الجليل ibn Mas'ud, لعن الله الواشمات لعن الله الواشمات والمستوشمات. You know that الجمع المؤنث السالم ينصب بالكسرة. You know that, right, Alif? جمع المؤنث سالم ينصب بالكسرة. خلق الله السماوات والأرض. Okay, so the perfect feminine plural that ends in alif ta, when it's an object of a sentence, it is mansub, so it should get a fatha. But no, not in this case. Why? Because it was hard on the tongue, so give it a kasra as an exception. And by the way, remember, language is not something that's theorized like the city of, like the map of a city, all right, like a new city. It's not theorized then spoken. It's spoken, and how the people speak it, they speak it for what makes it easier for them. There are no rules here. And then afterwards, some grammarians come and say, okay, this is our language. And in Islam, it's really justified why they did it. Arabs could speak how they want. What's going to stop them? They don't have to follow any rules. But then once we have a religion now, once we have the Quran and the Hadith, now we have to say, okay, full stop. This is the language. We stop right here. And now what are the rules? And the grammarians went at it. It was not like some official government grammarians. It was just people, scholars. They went out to the Bedouin and they documented how they wrote and how they spoke, and each scholar made his own theory, which is the grammar. And they ended up being the top in Basra, in Kufa, was Al-Kisa'i, the famous scholar, reciter. He has a recitation. He has a madhab in recitation that's named after him. And he has a very famous book on that he took mostly from the stories of Bani Israel on the prophets, which is wild, this book. I can't recommend anyone reading it, but because the stories are so wild, they just took all the stories of Bani Israel and put them in there. And you think, figures why these people raised on Judaism eventually just go bonkers and become atheists in Harvard and all these places and in Europe, because these stories are whacked. There's no nice way to put it. Some of these stories are whacked. For example, you know what an ogre is? You know the word ogre, right? That's a biblical story. At least Jewish folklore or whatever. That, oh my gosh, these people. The mani, you know what mani is, right? Of Prophet Nuh, intermingled with dirt. What the heck is wrong with these people? Firstly, how does it come out of a prophet in the first place? Like a wet dream or something, intermingled with dirt. And out of that, a subhuman was born. And that's what an ogre is. and he was as tall as a tree. Isa Haq got it. It's Jewish Shrek. He was like as tall as a tree, so he's like half human and half nature. He's as tall as a tree, but really only half the IQ of a human. And he walks around. One day he's a pagan. Next day he follows his father, Noah. I mean, what is wrong with you? Like, you clearly made stuff up. There's no doubt about it. Now, I do believe there were big people out there. And there could have been entire villages of low IQ people, because if you think about it, when humanity spread, if a person were to have spread and left the group, and all humans were living at the same place at the same time, if someone left the group, then let's say died and left, like children there, and was killed by a saber-toothed tiger or something, then the kids will grow up without any education, like without any anyone to guide them along life. So then you can get these like not very smart people, right? And then they're going to raise children, and then they're going to raise children. And that's where you get this idea of like al-insul wahshi. You heard that term before, Alif?
Wahshi like the Sahaba?
No, not like wahshi as in the description as wild, right? Wahshi is it's the word wild essentially, okay? Wild humans. That's a description of Aboriginal island people who are, for example, without clothes, that eat other people, that are just wild. They like in Arabic they call that al-ins al-wahshi. So you get that by somebody leaving the group, okay? Someone leaves the group and never gets educated, okay? So that's the idea of the ogre, okay? How do we even get to that subject? Oh, yes, okay. We're talking about, we got to that from Al-Kasai's book on the stories of prophets, which is filled with all this sort of junoon. I mean, it's more like weird. You read it because it's so crazy, right? I just got to know how crazy you guys got. And then you go, and for us, we clearly put a line where there is something that is dishonorable for prophets, or attributing a fi'l, an action, to prophets, and then that is questionable. So that where we draw the line. Then there's a lot of stories of Bani Israel that it's possible for prophets, possible for to be true. And then obviously the stuff we know is true, and we can affirm that. But we went to that, to Kasai, to grammar. The Basran school, Arabic grammar, was then codified in Basra, which is southeast of Kufa, if I'm not mistaken. Is it? I can't remember. But it's at the point between Persia, Arabia, and Iraq. Okay. And there, Sibawayh came up with his school. But nonetheless, that's all of this was an explanation on why the the perfect feminine plural is mansub with a kasra. Okay? In any event, Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud says, man, we're like tangent professionals here. Okay? And I'm about to go on another tangent because a brother here keeps reminding me that I did a whole appearance on Towards Eternity and is not out yet. So now we're going to text the guy. Towards Eternity. We did a whole thing with it, with this brother.
Did they release it like
I don't know. I'm not a fan of wasting my time and coming on your thing and then you're not gonna post it. No, you're posting it, right? Okay. Where is it? I think he was Turkish. So let me type in Turk. Towards Eternity.
Yeah, that would do numbers for us. There's a lot of people too.
Well, it's a principle thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like you called me on. I did the program. They were really nice. Everything was great. Now you're just not going to air it, so you're going to waste my time, essentially. Hey, Omar, you remember when we did the stream with those guys from Towards Eternity? They were really nice guys and everything, and everything seemed fine. Now someone's asking us, where is it? Was it published or not? Can you find out for us, please? I mean, first you have to ascertain the facts. So let's actually see on their channel if it was released or not. Maybe I got the facts wrong, or maybe Lexus here got the facts wrong. Towards Eternity, and then we're going to, go into their channel and then type in my name and see if it came out. Or maybe we've done dhulm to the guys. At least send me a courtesy and say, hey, this was too controversial. We can't put it out there. Blah, blah, blah. Then I would say, well, give me the footage. I'll put the wrong footage out there. Okay? You know, there's a guy who has a whole stream on that birthdays are totally haram and that what I said about birthdays was not right. Okay. Who's here? Ryan. Hey, Omar. We did a live stream with Towards Eternity, correct?
Yeah, we did. No, was it a recording?
Huh? A recording. Where is it? Please contact that guy. And I mean, they were nice and everything, so I don't have any issues with those guys. But could you ask them what's going on and why didn't I get a courtesy call that we can't put it out there? Be a whatchamacallit, straight up stand-up guy and say, I couldn't do it. Our follower this, that, and the other. Right? Am I right or wrong about this subject? I'm right about this subject, right? If there's something called a courtesy call, okay? Can't remember, to be honest with you. Right? So, Omar, you find out the answer for that.
I'm texting right now.
Okay, good. Okay, now we continue. Allah cursed the washimat, mustawshimat, النامصات والمتنمصات والمتفلجات للحسن المغيرات خلق الله. النمص is the pluckers, and those who add, and those who tattoo and all these things. والحديث صريح في النهي عن ذلك. This hadith is very clear on this subject. لكن هناك العديد من الآثار التي تعارضه وتقيد عمومه على حالة خاصة ومنها. So here he's given us example of a Sahih hadith from Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud, okay, in which he's not even he's saying it from himself. Then somebody asks him, how do you know this? And they say, because we follow the Prophet, peace be upon him. So he's basically attributing this teaching to the Prophet, peace be upon him. But now that's why we said, when you see that a hadith is sahih, learning how to navigate these things that we read. When you see that a hadith is sahih, you cannot take it and run. It is a valid piece of evidence, but there may be other evidences next to it. There may be abrogations after it. There may be limitations to it, conditions, specifications, and this is what he says here. He gives us an example. عن أبي إسحاق عن امرأة ابن أبي الصقر أنها كانت عند عائشة رضي الله عنها فسألتها امرأة فقالت. A woman asked Sayyidah Aisha, O mother of the believers, in my face there are hairs. أفأنت فيهن? Should I pluck them out? Should I remove them? أتزين بذلك لزوجي, so I can at least look nice in front of my husband. Aisha radiallahu anha said, أميطي عنك الأذى, remove this harm. وتصنعي لزوجك كما تصنعين للزيارة, and you can look nice in front of your husband. وإذا أمرك فلتطيعيه, and if he tells you something, then you should do it. وغيره من الآثار الآمرة بالتزيين والتجمل كقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله جميل يحب الجمال لا سيما تزيين المرأة لزوجها. And Sayyidah Aisha's narrations on this are numerous. 3, 4. narrations from Sayyidah Aisha on removing these hairs. Okay? From the face, from the brow. فَقَيَّدَ فُقَهَاءُ الْحَنَفِيَّةِ. So therefore the Hanafi fuqaha jurists, they limited Ibn Mas'ud's statement. While that's their sheikh, their asanid go back to Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud, right? He's their source of the sunnah. He's their number one source of understanding the sunnah. And yet they limited his prohibition to be the one who removes this hairs and beautifies herself for strangers. فهمت؟ Okay. إن كان للأجانب ممن يحرم عليها إظهار الزينة لهم. Okay. أو أن يكون في أخذه إذا. Condition number 2 for the prohibition, that there's some harm in taking it away. Okay. وأما الرجل فإنه يأخذ من الحاجب ما لم يصل إلى حد المخنثين فيكون مشوها بهذا الأخذ. What is the limit of a man removing his eyebrow hairs, even if plucking? Is that he looks feminine, or he looks like a khunta, or he looks like a homosexual, or he looks like someone who's trying to be trans, okay, or what have you in the society, okay? So that he looks feminine. That's the limit for men. Limit for women, you doing it for others that are not allowed to look at you. وعلى ذلك حمل النهي الوارد, and that's how they treated that prohibition. So they put 2 and 2 together, and they said what the Prophet was referring to was doing this towards a forbidden end. Okay. Ibn Abidin says, by the way, for anyone just joining, we're reading Hanafi fiqh. Okay. Reading straight from Hanafi fiqh, and we have one Hanafi here and a Hanafi student here. Hanafi? Okay. We have a Maliki here. ولعله محمول, says Ibn Abidin, أي النهل الوارد في الحديث على ما إذا فعلته لتتزين للأجانب. So he says that most likely, لعل, possibly, the prohibition here is that she's beautifying herself for strangers. Yes, al-Qadi recently released, they said that it's the behavior of prostitutes, which is the same thing, for strangers, right? Beautification for, it's the same result. Beautification for strangers. Why would you beautify yourself for a man? It's haram for him to look at you. So, لأن الزينة للنساء مطلوبة, because beautification for women is desired, okay? For the right causes, for the right reasons. إلا أن يحمل على ما لا ضرورة إليه لما في نتفه بال من ماس من الإيذاء. And so also it could be forbidden because there could be harm. When you overpluck, or in manners of plucking, there could be harm. So it's beautification for non-husband, or for who's forbidden to look at, and for harm. So he's showing here how a hadith sahih can be muqayyad. Okay? It looks absolute, but it's muqayyad. وفي تبيين. Now, there's also another statement, by the way, in the Malikiyah have in their works, that if a woman's eyebrows look masculine, then that's tashabbuh if she keeps it. So she has to render it feminine. Okay? At least not masculine. It could be neutral. In the book Tabyin al-Maharim, must be another Hanafi, you know about this? Another Hanafi resource. إزالة الشعر من الوجه حرام إلا إذا نبت للمرأة لحية أو شوارب أو شوارب فلا تحرم إزالته بل تستحب. And for us in the Malikiyah we say yajib. If a woman grows facial hair, such as hair on the chin, hair on the upper lip, hair on the sides, he says here that this is now reflecting the image of a man. So therefore, it's mustahab in the Hanafi fiqh to remove it. It's recommended to remove it. Don't quote me here, but Nafrawi has a whole section on this, and I think that he actually mentioned obligation in the Maliki madhab. Why? To move away from a tashabbuh, imitating men and women. By the way, imitating men and women is not just in your image and your face; it's in your behavior too, your attitude, your role in your household and in your society even. Tashabbuh bil-rijal, tashabbuh bin-nisa, mimicking genders. Okay, it's something I think Muslims should be proud of, is that we actually have an idea of the image, the general image, and the general role of each gender, so we don't have confusion. And it's set by Allah Ta'ala. It's not set, and by the prophets. It's not set by us. How would we know? Okay. Certain things the intellect cannot know by itself. So he says here, he continues, وفي التتار خانية. What's that? That sounds like it was way beyond the river. Okay. Okay. ولا بأس بأخذ الحاجبين وشعر وجهه ما لم يشبه المخنث. So for the man, لا بأس, by taking away from the sides, the brow, الحاجبين, وشعر وجهه, and some hairs on the face, as long as he does not look like a mukhannath. The same quote was said in the book Al-Mujtaba. You're familiar with it. Hey, Ryan, can I bother you to shut this off, please? Actually, you won't know. It's very complicated. This remote control is bad. Do you ever hear of an app? Everything operates today with an app. Not this remote control with a 1 inch by 2 inch little gray screen here. And nobody knows how the buttons move. So, Omar, before we freeze today, if you can kindly close this. We need Alif's Nobel Prize Bengali mind to... Is it me, or is it just like every other year a Bengali's winning a Nobel Prize, right? Like this kid, it started with Muhammad. What was his name? Muhammad Yunus.
That guy they elected.
He's elected president now?
He's elected.
Wow. So it started with Muhammad Yunus. That's like every other year there's some Bengali winning a Nobel Prize. And how crazy is it that Bangladesh, which never even used to make the playoffs, is now being said to be a better country to live in than Pakistan? Here's a Pakistani, can't even accept what I'm saying, right? You never heard that before? Yeah, I mean, in my youth, Bangladesh doesn't even make the playoffs, right?
No, I'm saying that they do now. That's what I'm asking.
No, they told me that Bangladesh is surpassing Pakistan. Too much corruption in Pakistan, and somehow the Bengalis, they hit the books. Somehow the Bengalis are now like the super intellectuals, right?
They're intellectuals, but I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to live there.
And that their country, their government is run better, that their country's better. Is it true?
They get things done. They got that lady out.
They get things done.
They got things done. Hasina, was it?
Yeah, Hasina. قال الطحطاوي, another authority in Hanafi madhab. By the way, as I repeat now, this is a fatwa. We are not saying the qawl and fasl in the Hanafi madhab so that we don't disrespect other ulama who have a different view on this mas'ala, on this fatwa. So fatawa or fatawa, that you can agree or disagree. This is the book that we have. Okay. ولا بأس بأن يأخذ شعر الحاجبين وشعر. Is this book on the left? Oh, sorry about that. I misread it. This is not the beard. We're not talking about the beard. We're talking about the brow. Yeah. Okay. For some reason in my mind, the word janib, sometimes I call this like the janibain. Yeah, we're talking about the brows the whole time, not the jamb of the lihya. Okay. Okay. Yes. So this is all about the brow. My mind got mixed up because the other fatwa that I was about to read was about the lihya, and they call this like the janib, the side. All right. So we're talking about the hajib right now. And the whole time I thought he was just proving a point about an example on taqyid al-am. But in any event, in this book by Tahtawi, there is nothing wrong with taking from the hair of the brow and the hair of the face, as long as he does not look like a mukhannath, the effeminate man, or the hermaphrodite who has no testosterone and therefore no hair on his face. The same is said in al-yanabi' wal-mudmarat wal-murad ma yakunu mushawwahan, and that he should not look off, he should not look like his face is disfigured. And this is the reason actually that same word al-mushawwah is why Malik literally forbade beards without mustaches. Now if you forbade it, there's a reason why. clearly he had 600 teachers. 300 from the Tabi'in, 300 Tabi'in. None of them had this, right? Otherwise he wouldn't forbid it. These are his shuyukh. None of them. Nobody in Medina had this. No mustache at all and a beard, not acceptable in the Maliki madhab. وعند المالكية حمل النهي الواردة على ما إذا كانت المرأة معتدة للوفاة. Now he gives us the Maliki opinion here. What's the Maliki opinion on removing hair from the brow? He says that the prohibition of Ibn Mas'ud, it applies only in when a woman's husband has died. And she has to spend 4 months and 10 days without beautification. That's the 4 months and 10 days. She's not allowed to go beautify herself, put on makeup, go to parties, go out, have fun, all that stuff is not allowed for 4 months and days out of respect for the husband. And Nafrawi says, remember what I just said? I said Nafrawi's got a long section on this. ويفهم من النهي عن وصل الشعر عدم حرمته وحرمة إزالة شعر بعض الحاجب أو الحاجب وهو المسمى بالترجيح والتدقيق والتحفيف والتنميص هو نتف شعر الحاجب حتى يصير دقيقا حسنا. And so first of all he says here that it is understood from the prohibition of adding hair to your hair. عدم حرمة إزالة شعر بعض الحاجب. The lack of prohibition, that there is no prohibition on removing some hairs of the brow. And this is called, they used to call it back in the day, tarjih, tadqiq, and tahfif. What tanmis, new sentence, plucking is removing the hair until it becomes like a line. That's what's forbidden. Okay, but removing what is excessive is not what is referred to here. Okay. ولكن روي عن عائشة رضي الله عنها جواز إزالة الشعر من الحاجب والوجه. That Aisha, she allowed for this. وهو الموافق لما مر من أن المعتمد جواز حلق جميع شعر المرأة ما عدا شعر رأسها. And that is, it fits the principle in the Maliki madhab, the permissibility of a woman to remove any hair from her body except her head. Because if she was to cut her hair short or shave it altogether, that would be tashabbuh bil-rijal. And I think possibly removing the eyebrows altogether would be tashabbuh. It would be disfigurement. تصير بذلك مشوهة. She would be مشوه, disfigured. وعليه فيحمل أو يحمل ما في الحديث على المرأة المنهية عن استعمال ما هو زينة لها كالمتوفى عنها والمفقود زوجها. So that all this, the prohibition for removing the brows in the Maliki school regards the iddah period. Iddah of death, by the way, not the iddah of divorce. After a divorce, a woman has a iddah only from remarrying, but she has no ihdad period. Ihdad is a period where a woman does not go out to her friends, go out, have a good time. She just stays home. Yeah. And of course, if there's a darura, she may obviously go for a darura, a need or a necessity, such as a woman who has to work to provide for her family, has to get shopping, and there's no one to help her, etc. But she cannot beautify. Al-Adawi, who is another Maliki authority, who is actually the Sheikh of al-Dardir, نعم قد ورد عن عائشة, it has been narrated from Aisha رضي الله عنها أنه يجوز للمرأة أن تتزين به لزوجها. She can also beautify herself for the people for whom it's permitted to be looked at. وقد جاء, which is her husband, قد جاء أن ذلك كان في أسماء ويمكن أن يقال لا معارضة لإمكان حمل النهي على من يحرم عليه الزينة كالمعتدة كما في النامصة. Okay, والنهي. So likewise, again, summary is that we can only apply this hadith to the one for whom it is forbidden completely to beautify yourself, and that is al-mu'tadda, iddat al-wafah, the one who is observing the iddah, or the waiting period of death. Okay, ihdad, 4 months, 10 days, when a woman's husband dies. والنهي محمول على المرأة المنهية عن استعمال ما هو زينة لها. Okay. The prohibition is mahmul, is applied to the woman who is forbidden to you. Same thing we just said. Okay. Not only the one whose woman is dead, but the one whose husband is dead, just died, but also is missing. فلا ينافي ما ورد عن عائشة من جواز إزالة الشعر من الحاجب والوجه. So therefore, when the fuqaha of our ummah, they saw a general prohibition, but then they saw another companion, such as the mother of believers Aisha, who will know best on the issues of women, saying something opposite of that and doing it and telling others to do it. Therefore, they have to make muwafaqah. They have to bring together these two texts. And how they bring it together, the Hanafis brought it together as being beautifying herself for strangers, which is haram. And in the Malikiya, saying beautifying herself when it's forbidden to do so, which is the period of ihdad, the iddah of death, the waiting period after her husband dies. Now let's go to the Hanbalis. Okay. وعند الحنابلة يحرم النتف لشعر الوجه في المعتمد. Plucking out hair of the face is forbidden in the mu'tamad opinion. وأباحوا الحلق لشعر الوجه للمرأة, but they permitted shaving. قال البهوتي يحرم النمص أي نتف الشعر من الوجه. Plucking is forbidden. وللمرأة حلق وجهها, but she can shave the hairs. ومنها تحسينه بتجهيزه ونحوه ويكره حف الوجه لرجل. So they forbade the plucking and permitted the shaving. I'm wondering about that because that can actually strengthen the hairs. In popular opinion, shaving strengthens hairs. It promotes hair growth, actually. That's what a lot of people used to say. You want your beard to grow? Keep shaving. Allah knows. I don't know. Is it true or not? Can you look it up?
When you shave it, it just looks thicker at first.
It gives the appearance of it being thicker, but it's actually just more blunt. So it went from tapered to blunt. So that's why it looks denser. But the density didn't change. It's just
But after it grows out, it like...
Is your mic on, Alif? Alif is saying it's a fallacy. The shaving to get thicker is a fallacy.
I think it is. If I'm not mistaken, because the original hair, when it grows, it's in the shape of like a...
Oh, it's tapered. I see what you're saying.
Right?
I see.
But then when you cut it, then it's the edge now is now.
See, that's a fact that I never thought about, but it's true. The hair, when it comes out, it's thick and then it gets thinner. Yeah. So Alif, look it up and just fact check it for us.
It doesn't make sense. Like, how is shaving gonna thicken the hair that's growing from inside your body? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
Like it's coming out regardless. If you shave it or not, it should be thick. Like even if you don't shave it.
You're right.
Like, how does the shaving? Like,
Mm-hmm. Shaving does not encourage hair growth, according to AI overview. Mm-hmm. Okay, click on Get us the qawl fasl and let me know Alif when you're ready. وأباح ابن الجوزي الحنبلي النمص. However, Ibn al-Jawzi permitted the plucking of the eyebrows. وحمل النهي على التدليس. And he said, no, what the prohibition is tadlis, fooling people. أو أنه كان شعار الفاجرات, or that it was at the time, it was a symbol of prostitutes and ill women of ill repute. So Ibn al-Jawzi had a different view.
So he's saying it's
معلل بالتشبه بالفاسقات. Okay. والتدليس معلل بالتدليس. Tadlis is to fool somebody. I'll give you an example of a prohibition. Let's say there's a man who's 50, 60 years old, right? And he has a lot of white hair. But it's time for him to get married and he wants to propose to somebody. So he goes and he dyes his hair. So his age now looks a lot younger, right? And so therefore he goes to propose and he's dyeing with the intent to look younger to a woman who has to make a judgment in her life, whether she's going to accept this man or not. So a person can dye his hair, and black has an exception, so leave black out of it. Let's say brown. And by the way, it doesn't make a difference. Whether you dye your hair brown, it has the same effect. You look younger. You look, the whites are gone. So if you were to do that any day of the week, nobody has a problem with you. But the day that you're going to propose to a woman, firstly, you're doing something dumb because nobody can ever keep that up. Eventually, your whites are going to come out in the engagement period, unless you're going to spend every single day doing just for men, right? But it's not a smart thing to do. Anyway, these days, people ask each other's age all the time. It's not, back in the old days, you only knew someone's age by their appearance. Like, you actually couldn't tell. People didn't know how old they were, right? People didn't know how old they were. Even so far back as the 1900s, there are a lot of people, many people's grandparents do not know their birthday. You just see how old the person is. So back in the old days, it was more likely to be able to fool somebody with that. But now, that would be tadlis, like I'm misleading. Even misleading her for the next meeting. Even misleading her for half an hour, right? You fooled me. So now she's sitting there saying, oh, he's got great hair, right? All this. Now they're talking. She's happy. And then some, maybe after the meeting, somebody says, I think that hair is dyed. No one's hair is that black, right? At his age. Or the next meeting, yeah, he got stingy and he didn't want to go spend another $15 to dye his hair. And some white comes, the roots come out, right? And now you start looking and saying, wait a second. If he's not honest, that's a bigger problem than having white hair. You tried to fool me with the hair. So you see how that's what we call tadlis, that's prohibited. أو أنه كان شعار الفاجرات. Okay, so that is the Hanabila. Now we go to الشافعية. المعتمد جواز النمس للمرأة المتزوجة بإذن زوجها. So they limited it to the married woman. Okay, the married woman. That her husband has no problem with this. لأن له غرضا في تزيينها. Because there's a purpose, there's a marital function. And Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, who is one of the main authorities of the Shafi'i madhab, and it is to him returns the final say to many of the Shafi'is, and some people say Nawawi, right? And al-Ramli.
No, I thought it was Nawawi and the Ramli. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about al-Haytami? Sorry, this is not Haytami, this is Hayth. I don't know. I think the author was playing it, or the editor was playing it safe, and there's a ta and a tha. Al-Haytami. So Haytami and Haythami have been combined into one person, right? There is alif lam ha ya ta tha mim ya. So because there's Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, there's al-Haytami. I don't know if they're the same person. So let's see. في تحفة المحتاج.
That's Haytami, right?
So Haytami. Okay.
Isn't that his on Minhaj?
تحفة المحتاج. Yeah. He says, look it up, يا ريان. والتنميص وهو الأخذ من شعر الوجه والحاجب المحسن فإن أذن لها زوجها. So she can remove these hairs for beautification if her husband has no issue with that. لأن له غرضا في تزيينها له, because he has a benefit from that. كما في الروضة وهو الأوجه. So there we have it. The summary in the four madhabs. فتحصل مما سبق إباحة عامة إباحة عامة الفقهاء إزالة المرأة الشعر من وجهها ونتف شعر حواجبها لزوجها. Okay, so the summary is that there is they all agree that it's permitted for a married woman to do this in order to look good in front of her husband, but the Hanabila only, they said shaving and not plucking, and the Malikiya had beyond that. They didn't restrict it to the married woman, they restricted it only to the ihdad. Ihdad is the waiting period in which a woman cannot engage in these frivolities and things. And then the Hanafis, they didn't restrict it only to marriage. Even within marriage, it could be prohibited if her intention is to do it for men who aren't allowed to look at her, and also if it's harmful. Okay, and also they considered removing too much of the eyebrows to be disfigurement. And that's the end of segment number 1. Segment number 2. Ya alifu. Hat. Look what we have here. By the way, it's Umrah for youth, but non-youth can also sign up. It's just that the majority focus is youth. Non-youth can come. As long as it's like 50-50, 60-40. And it's good because we want some of the youth to see older people and to hang out with older people. So this Umrah, you go to buraktravel.co and sign up and save your spot.
Youth till what, 40?
Yeah, youth youth technically, Shab, you're a Shab until 40 technically. Yeah. Okay. Let's read from the Book of Allah, at-Tafsir. And of course, the two tafsir that we always read from is the tafsir number 1 of al-Baghawi and number 2 of al-Qurtubi. And I would have to say, to be honest with you, if there's one tafsir and one sharh that I would, the only ones I could ever read, I would probably take tafsir al-Qurtubi and Sharh in Nawawi on Muslim. Although, of course, most people would say Ibn Hajar on Bukhari should be first, but Nawawi on Muslim. And many people, they confuse this saying that, see, the difference between Bukhari and Muslim is as follows. Imam al-Bukhari is a mujtahid. He's a faqih. When he puts a hadith, that is the justification for his opinion in fiqh. Some people said, are you saying Bukhari is biased? Not biased. It's in his opinion in fiqh. Okay? In jurisprudence, he has opinions, like every other mujtahid. Okay? And the title essentially is the summary of his opinion of the chapter. And then the hadith presented there are the justifications for it. Imam Muslim does not take that approach. Imam Muslim, he gives, it's almost more like a mini encyclopedia of hadith. You want the Sahih hadith on wudu? Boom. You want all the Sahih hadith on witr? Boom. Here you are. It's much less so of opinion. This is why in Morocco, in al-Maghrib al-Arabi, from basically Morocco, Andalus, they preferred Sahih Muslim over Bukhari because they did not just view Bukhari as just a book of hadith. They viewed it as Bukhari's ijtihad. His ijtihad on what the ruling should be, and here's the justification for the ruling. And 95% of the time, according to what I was told by the Shawafi', it aligns with the Shafi'i madhab. Pretty much Sahih al-Bukhari aligns with the Shafi'i madhab. It's not aligned with the Hanafi or Maliki madhab, right? And people confuse the selection of the hadith with the authenticity, okay? And they also confuse the concept of making a judgment, a scholarly judgment, with bias. Bias is something usually that is a limiting matter. You're not even aware of it, and you have a bias, and you're limited by it. A scholarly judgment is not a bias. Okay, it's a judgment, and Imam al-Bukhari, he's worthy of making these judgments, and he does make these judgments. Okay. Muslim, however, his book is not much about that, right? It's not so much that he's making a judgment. He's more like just giving you the Sahih narrations on this subject matter. Okay. And ultimately, Bukhari did his fiqh aligns very much with Shafi'i fiqh. Now let's get to al-Qurtubi's tafsir. سنسمه على الخرطوم أراد به الهجاء هذا كله نزل في الوليد بن المغيرة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we will strike him on his face. In other words, we will put a mark on his face. And أراد به الهجاء, this is it's a sarcastic threat. And he means by this al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, one of the worst enemies, the father of Khalid ibn al-Walid. ولا نعلم أن الله تعالى بلغ من ذكر عيوب أحد ما بلغ منه. We haven't seen Allah Ta'ala mention the flaws of anyone in the Quran more than Walid ibn Mughira. He was such a nasty person and such a wicked individual. فألحقه به عارا لا يفارقه في الدنيا والآخرة. He's humiliated by these ayahs. First of all, he said that, you're a zanim. and he went back to his mother, and he says, Muhammad, through the Quran, he says, you're a zanim. I'm a zanim. Am I? She said, yes. You're not your father's son. You're not Mughira's son. She had zina with somebody else, and you're actually a kid of zina. SubhanAllah. Ar, humiliation. Okay. Sanasimu al-Khurtum, his face will be humiliated. His face will symbolize humiliation. كالوسم على الخرطوم وقيل هو ما ابتلاه الله به في الدنيا في نفسه or في نفسه وماله وأهله من سوء وذل وصغار قاله ابن بحر واستشهد بقول الأعشى فدعها وما يعنيك واعمد لغيرها بشعرك واعلب أنف من أنت واسم بشعرك أو بشعرك لا أدري. وقال النضر بن شميل المعنى سنحده على شرب الخمر. We're going to make him someone addicted to alcohol. والخرطوم الخمر. So الخرطوم here, سنسمه على الخرطوم. الخرطوم is alcohol. It's wine. It's not the nose. وجمعه خراطيم. And his proof, قول الشاعر تظل يومك في لهو وفي طرب وأنت بالليل شراب الخراطيم. Okay, so that's an example of how pre-Islamic poetry, in this case it's quoted in al-Bahr al-Muhit, a lexicon of Arabic, and al-Fath al-Qadir, or Fath al-Qadir. That's an example of how pre-Islamic poetry is a proof of what words mean. And if you're going to say a word means this, you need to find proof of that the Arabs used it that way. So, Sanasimu al-Khurtum, we're going to plague him with alcoholic addiction or alcohol addiction, because your affairs are ruined. When you're an alcoholic, how much of your money goes to alcohol? How much time is your brain out? And how much are you sleeping? So there's no way somebody could be successful if they're an alcoholic. I'm sure there are many exceptions, but the norm is that someone who can't stop drinking, he wastes his money and his intellect is gone maybe 2-3 hours a day, and he has to sleep it off. Then he wakes up unhealthy, miserable, with a headache, and he's vomiting all over the place, and then his liver malfunctions, right? Another الثانية قال ابن العربي أحكام القرآن. قال ابن العربي كان الوسم في الوجه لذي المعصية قديما عند الناس. And this, when people did something wrong, committed a crime way back in the day, they used to put a mark on his face. حتى أنه روي كما تقدم أن اليهود لما أهملوا رجم الزاني اعتاضوا منه بالضرب وتحميم الوجه. So way back in the day, the Yahud, when they left off stoning the adulterers, they would take a hot coal and mark his face with that, and that was his punishment instead. وهذا وضع باطل ومن الوسم الصحيح في الوجه ما رأى العلماء من تسويد وجه شاهد الزور علامة على قبح المعصية وتشديدا لمن يتعاطاها لغيره ممن يرجى تجنبه بما يرجى من عقوبة شاهد الزور وشهرته. Okay. And he said about, in terms of what the Jews would do, that this is batil, and from the wasm that was permitted, as-sahih, what some ulama, some scholars used to do, which was mark the face of someone who committed false testimony in court. This is the worst speech that a person can utter after apostasy, is to be a false witness in court, because someone may be killed because of your witness. Someone's wealth may be lost because of that or something. So what they used to do to make sure nobody does it again, and to make sure everyone in the world knows wherever you go that you're a false witness in the country, they used to actually mark the person's face. فقد كان عزيزا بقول الحق وقد صار مهينا بالمعصية. So you were fine when you spoke the truth. Now you're humiliated by speaking falsehood. شهادة الزور, false testimony in court. وأعظم الإهانة إهانة الوجه. The worst, أعظم الإهانة, the worst humiliation is the humiliation in the face. كذلك كانت الاستهانة به في طاعة الله سببا لخيرة الأبد والتحريم له على النار. So the opposite too. Okay. كذلك كانت الاستهانة به في طاعة الله سببا لخيرة الأبد والتحريم له. فإن الله تعالى قد حرم على النار أن تأكل من ابن آدم أثر السجود حسب ما ثبت في الصحيح. So saying the truth is one of those things that the fire would be forbidden from the tongue of someone who said the truth. Okay. Or the face, the forehead, where it touched first the floor for sujood. Okay. Now he continues and he goes, what time is it, by the way? Because we have to do the dua of Wednesday, then we go to Q&A. What time is it? 3:10? Okay. يكفي هذا من التفسير, because this is enough for tafsir, because the next section is big. The next section is إِنَّا بَلَوْنَاهُمْ كَمَا بَلَوْنَا أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ إِذْ أَقْسَمُوا لَا يَصْرِمُنَّهَا مُصْبِحِينَ. There were some youth who owned a garden. Their dad owned an orchard, and the dad used to give a lot of charity from the orchard. Then the dad died. Then the youth inherited the orchard, and they said, we're like, what were they, 10 people? There were 9 or 10. There were 9 or 10 youth sons. I said, we're already dividing up the wealth enough between us, so we need to stop the charity, decrease the charity. So they stopped giving the charity. Okay, and clearly, maybe, possibly, it would have been zakah, because no one's punished for not giving charity. You're only punished for not giving your obligatory zakah. So therefore, they stopped paying their zakah on the orchard. Then Allah Ta'ala sent a storm to destroy it all, and then they repented after that. All right, so we stop here. Alifun, let's go to the dhikr of Wednesday.
Towards the 30 will be up soon.
What did he say?
He said they're done with it, they're going to release it. So we're just deciding on the title.
Okay, because we did this like ages ago.
Yeah. I guess they recorded it every time. It probably was scheduled for release.
Mm-hmm.
They're a big channel.
What's this? Here's a question, interesting here. Okay, here we go. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين. 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا وكان عند الله وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين. وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا أنصار الله كما قال عيسى ابن مريم للحواريين من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. أعيذ نفسي بالله تعالى من كل ما يسمع بأذنين ويبصر بعينين ويمشي برجلين ويبطش بيدين ويتكلم بشفتين. حصنت نفسي بالله الخالق الأكبر من شر ما أخاف وأحذر من الجن والإنس وأن يحضرون. عز جاره وجل ثناؤه وتقدست أسماؤه ولا إله غيره. اللهم إني أجعلك في نور أعدائي وأعوذ بك من شرورهم وتحيلهم ومكرهم ومكائدهم. أطفئ نار من أراد بعداوة من الجن والإنس يا حافظ يا حفيظ يا كافي يا محيط. سبحانك يا رب ما أعظم شأنك وعز سلطانك. تحصنت بالله وبأسماء الله وبآيات الله وملائكة الله وأنبياء الله ورسل الله والصالحين من عباد الله. حصنت نفسي بلا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. اللهم احرسني بعينك التي لا تنام واكنفني بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمني بقدرتك علي فلا أهلك وأنت ثقتي ورجائي. يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا درك الهالكين يا درك الهالكين يا درك الهالكين. اكفني شر كل طارق ينطرق بليلنا ونهار إلا طارق ينطرق بخير إنك لكل شيء قدير. بسم الله أرقي نفسي من كل ما يؤذي من كل حاسد الله شفائي. بسم الله رقيت اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس اشفي أنت الشافي وعافي أنت المعافي. لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما ولا ألما. يا كافي يا وافي يا حميد يا مجيد ارفعني كل تعب شديد واكفني من والحديد والمرض الشديد والجيش العديد. واجعل لي نور من نورك وعز من عزك ونصر من نصرك وبهاء من بهائك وعطاء من عطائك وحراسة من حراستك وتأييد من تأييدك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام والمؤمن العظام. أسألك أن تكفيني من شر كل ذي شر إنك أنت الله الخالق الأكبر. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والحمد لله رب العالمين ظاهرا وباطنا وعلى كل حال يا أرحم الراحمين. All right, before we get to our Q&A, we're going to do 2 minutes of dua here, and then we'll get to our Q&A, inshallah. صلى الله وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. If you say صلى, you should say سلم. Past tense with past tense. سلم with صلي with سلم. You know that, Ryan?
Yeah.
This guy knows his لغة عربية. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Q&A. And before that, I want to say something that's pretty interesting. You know that most people have this myth that you need food for energy. You actually don't. It's a myth. You don't need food for energy. If you have an inch, pinch an inch. If you can pinch any fat on your body, you don't need food for energy. You're eating for the enjoyment of eating. Eating, to me, I'm always thinking about eating. It's got a social element, and that's its most valuable element. If you are you have like 8, 5 or less, 8% is usually really amazing. 10% body fat is like good, right? That's what they say, at least. Then you need food for energy. If you have more than that, you can pinch the fat, let alone see it. Omar, you need more food, bro. This guy is a skeleton walking, right? He's pinching. No, you're pinching skin. Yeah, that's literally skin. He's pinching bones. So if you have anything to pinch, then you literally do not need food for energy. Okay? Your body, by force, by abandonment from giving it new food, it will turn to the fat. And it will turn to the bad cells first. That's the easiest, right? And then it'll turn to to fat. And you're going to be doing great. Now listen to this. A kid who has a TV or an iPad, you can't keep giving him a TV and iPad and then say, use your imagination. His imagination is going to be stunted because all he has is TV and iPad. Okay? So the moment you take it away, what is he going to say? He's going to say, I'm bored, and he's going to whine and all that. So the only way to get a kid to use his imagination and to play and do stuff is to take away that other stuff. And then he's going to kick and scream, and then he's going to eventually use his imagination. Give it for kids. The younger they are, the quicker the turnaround. Kicking and screaming will be less time, and then eventually they're going to just figure it out. Okay? I have a certain kid, I'm not going to mention names. I used to give him a chore, they would kick and scream, right? But I wouldn't pay any attention to the kicking and screaming. Okay, you're going to do the chore. Within 20 minutes, they're humming and singing while doing the chore. Give it more time, and they've made a game out of the chore, right? Like if it was clean the garage, it was kicking and screaming, I can't believe this is happening, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, we don't have princes and princesses in this. Last I checked, there wasn't a crown on my head for you to be a prince or a princess. Okay? So you're cleaning the garage, kicking and screaming. Just give it time. Okay? Give it time. The kicking and screaming, you know the phases? Denial, anger, right? Acceptance. Give it 30 minutes. Boom, we're at acceptance. Okay? Now the job has become a game. After a while, they turn the job into a game. All right? Well, how clean can I make this? And now it becomes a mission. All right, all the tools should be on this rack. All the sneakers should be at the bottom rack. All the sports equipment should be on this rack. All right? And then it becomes an achievement. Well, the human body is no different. If you have enough fat on you and you just don't give it food, you will kick and scream on the mental side. And then eventually on the physical side, you actually will be really tired. But then all of a sudden, if you play it out, if you just give it time, right? You just give it time, you're going to find a burst of energy. Your body will find a little pocket of fat, and boom, that's my lunch for the day. All of a sudden, and this is the testimony of people, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I was about to completely pass out. I'm full of energy. Okay? Or sometimes they're completely tired. They take a very short nap. Boom, full of energy. And that's what you have to do. Right? You have to let it play out. Let it happen by itself. And people go through phases. Here's Ununu saying, what about a 9-year-old boy who is stubborn, doesn't want to pray and practice Islam? Okay. The other kids are okay, so it's not necessarily a parenting fault. To me, prayer is adab. It's impossible to allow a kid to keep his feet on the table when your grandma walks in, right or wrong. That's impossible. It will never happen no matter what family. You will never allow for your kid to have their feet on the ground, on the table, up on the table, watching TV, and the grandma walks through the door. Right? Not in any society is this acceptable. Right? What would you say? You're not going to say, oh, how do I motivate him? No, just you can't do this. Well, the respect of your creator is through the prayer. Okay? Here's the motivation for this and justification. This is respecting your creator. Does your eyes work this morning? Did your ears work this morning? Right? You got food. We got the sun out. We're breathing. There's no war. No bombs falling on our heads. You got to pray. Okay? You must pray. Now, by the way, this method of what I'm talking about fasting does not apply to everybody. Some people got low blood sugar. They can't do it. Some people here that gets headache, can't do it. So this approach may or may not be for everybody, but there probably are solutions to that. So when we say the dry fasting or not eating at all, so you may actually end up reducing that to having some exceptions where your calorie intake is negligible. I often wondered, Hadith the Prophet ﷺ is said about him that him and his family would go 2 months straight. New moon, new moon, new moon. That's 2 months. We would go like 3 new moons. That's 2 months on al-Aswadain, dates and water. So I'm wondering, and it's not going to be a mountain of dates, obviously. Like maybe a handful of dates in the morning, handful of dates in the afternoon, and water. I wonder if, for 2 months is a lot, but let's bring that down a bit to like, let's say a week. What would happen if a person did water, and let's expand it, water, milk, cucumbers, dates. What if someone, and yogurt, let's say. A meal, a little bit of that in the morning, you get a little bit of that at night. And that's it for a full week. I wonder what would he, forget his weight. His weight, of course, I think it would drop. For sure it would drop. Weight, but also the ease of it. I wonder if it would be easy. Like if it would make the not eating any other foods, I wonder if it would make it easy. Because you are putting something in your stomach, so you're not suffering the empty stomach side of things. I'll tell you what I think the hardest part would be. It's really hard to open up your appetite and then close it. It's probably easier just to not eat all day than to just eat a small amount. Because once you start eating, you want more. Like it's much easier for a person probably to never have ever had money than to sometimes have money and not. Because then you're starting to get, you're going to get greedy. You're going to want more and more and more. Next question here. Is there any wazifa to get a job? Yes, of course, the wazifa is to recite Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir, but also to wake up, let's say after Fajr, and apply for your job after Fajr. Because the rizq is distributed in the morning. If you want money, let's say I have a job. My job's in the afternoon. How do I benefit from the morning? So from Fajr until sunrise, which is 20 minutes after the sun goes up, after Fajr is out, do that. The dhikr. Prophet ﷺ said, whoever remembers Allah after Fajr in that morning time until the sun rises, that's better for him than if you went trading east and west. Keep in mind with the lifestyle stuff is that we shouldn't imitate the capitalists in their lifestyle. They worship money. It is their worship. They do so well at it because it's their worship. This is literally their God. For us, that is not our God. It's a means to an end, and Allah can open for you or close for you. There are some rules. If you're involved in a trade, buying and selling, that's always... The Prophet ﷺ said 9/10 of all rizq goes to the one who took the risk, right? The one who's buying and selling. He's the one who took the risk, so he gets it. And then the employees get the 10%. It always makes me laugh when people say that they want the owner and the factory workers to get paid, something similar. Well, the factory worker has no risk. Okay? The other guy took a risk on himself. His products might not sell. Okay. Can I close my eyes in salah? It is makruh. Okay. Is it sunnah to lengthen the mustache from the side? It's a sunnah of Omar ibn Khattab, but I think it's just his habit, so you're not going to be rewarded. But if you love Omar ibn Khattab and you want to do that, you can do that. No problem. Not always. I don't think it was totally like that, but a little bit long. He used to pull at them, enough that he would pull at them. All right, Surah al-Jinn. قل إني لا أملك لكم ضرا ولا نفعا. Allah says in Surah al-Jinn, نأتي بسورة al-Jinn. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is commanded, and this is the ayah, say, I do not possess for you any benefit or harm. قل إني لا أملك لكم ضرا ولا رشدا. Sorry, I said nafa. قل إني. This is 4 things that the Prophet ﷺ was told to say to the jinn. Number one, I only call upon Allah in worship, and I have no partner with him. Number two, I do not possess for you any benefit or guidance. Okay? Say, no one can protect me but Allah. Okay? And I'm only just, relaying the message. Whoever disobeys God, he's going to be punished. Yeah. And then when they see the punishment, then they're going to know this was all true. And they'll see how small they are. Yeah. فَسَيَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ أَضْعَفُ نَاصِرًا وَأَقَلُّ عَدَدًا. The majority of people on the day of beings on the day of judgment will be angels. They will see, they're populated with angels. Different kinds of angels, sizes and jobs and everything. Then the disbelievers in God, and there are other creatures beyond angels that are in the heavens. They may not have the same intellect we have. For example, Prophet ﷺ said that there are green birds flying around in paradise. So there are the animals of paradise. There are animals in paradise. The proof being, the Prophet ﷺ said the martyr's soul is put into the body of a green bird and he flies around paradise. So, and then the fourth thing the Prophet said, was commanded to say, is that he does not know when the promise of Allah is. In other words, when you're going to die, when the judgment is going to come, this is not his affair. Okay? In adri aqaribun ma tu'aduna am yaj'alu lahu rabbi amada. Is it going to come soon? Is it coming later? Allah is alimul ghaib. Allah knows the unseen. فَلَا يُظْهِرُ عَلَى غَيْبِهِ أَحَدًا إِلَّا مَنْ ارْتَضَى مِنْ رَسُولٍ. He does not show anyone his unseen except from who he wishes to from messengers. So the question is, okay, what is the point, somebody said, of visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam if Allah tells us here, قُلْ إِنِّي لَا أَمْلِكُ لَكُمْ ضَرًّا وَلَا رَشَدًا. He does not own for you, possess for you any benefit, okay, harm or guidance. So the answer to the question is that Allah subhanahu, the wording here refers to absolute power. Al-mulk, to own it, okay, to be the creator of it, to be the absolute source of it. As for being the means towards it, yes, for sure he is. And the proof of that is his hadith. Allah yu'ti wa ana al-qasim. Allah gives and I distribute. Okay, so nobody possesses truly as a creator anything, but we can be the means. And also his saying here, clearly, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَدْعُو رَبِّي. I only pray to my Lord. I only call upon my Lord. And as for calling upon other people, yes, because the word calling or ad'u, it implies ibadah. Okay? But there can be making requests from people. You can make requests of anyone you wish. You can make requests of any Muslim, pious Muslim that you wish to help you in anything. You can make requests of most non-believers to help you in things. Who are you not allowed to make requests of? Enemies of the truth. Then you have no relation. People who you're not allowed to have any relations with them. You shouldn't request from them anything. Okay? For example, if someone says, hey, what do you need to, I have an accounting problem. Oh, there's a guy over there, he's an accountant. Why don't you call him and ask him? Oh, really? What's he all about? Well, he's an apostate. Okay, then we're not going to talk to him. Okay? So there are certain people we cut ties from altogether. You wouldn't make any requests from them. You wouldn't make a request. It is forbidden to make a request, or makruh. It's makruh to make a request from somebody you know can't help you in the matter. It's makruh only. Why? Because it's abath. It's foolishness. Such as asking, let's say you were to ask me my opinion on an x-ray. Right? Oh, check out my x-rays on the phone. Here's my x-ray. Here's my bone. What do you think? What difference does it make what I think? Because I wouldn't know how to read it. Right? So, didn't do anything even haram. It's just stupidity. It's makruh. That is the max that making a request from somebody who cannot help you, su'alul ajizi makruh. It's makruh, maximum. Okay? And with that, you can measure al-istighatha and everything else. Okay? Same thing. Su'alul ajizi makruh. Again, to make a request is not entail any worship. Does not entail that I believe that you have absolute power, nor am I worshiping you, nor am I making dua to you. It's making a request. Is it makruh in Maliki fiqh to sleep with a blanket or pillowcase that has images on it? No, it is not. It is makruh though, as some of our friends wanted to do, to use silk for a meal, to sleep on silk, or to use silk, or to benefit from silk. It's makruh. Some people they love their hair so much that they want to sleep on silk. Sleep on fake silk, no problem there. But you can't sleep on silk. Okay. Why do ulama trim their beard? Because it's permitted to trim the beard, and the beard, to achieve the sunnah of the beard, is to have what people would call a beard. But of course, the best of beard would be the fist-length beard, if a person has that. But it should not be longer than a fist length in the Maliki madhab, but the Shafi'i do allow it. The Shafi'i allow it. No limit to the length, but the Malikiya, they disallow longer than the fist length. Abdullah bin Omar, no one's going to be better than him. He used to cut from the fist length. Beyond that, you're getting attention. You're just getting attention. And that's what they call it, a shuhra. Okay. You're seeking shuhra. And also disfigurement. So it's just a long beard. There's even a Hanafi from the Tabi'een and the people in the Sanads of the Ahnaf. He said, I wonder about a man with an intellect who has a very long beard. Right? Who said that? You remember who said that? I think it was Ibrahim al-Nakhai, yeah. So next we have the question from Mustafa Siddiqui, methods of raising Huffaz children. From the Huffaz that we have around here, their simple method is to ensure that their kid is getting classes in Hifzh and giving tasmiyah, if not daily, then multiple times a week. And they do it through Zoom even. There is even Brother Salman's brother-in-law from New York. He's won like multiple tournaments or contest or you know, these.
Salman himself, actually.
His brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And Salman too. But Salman, his brother-in-law, learned solely from Zoom. From a Hafiz from Egypt. Every single day they meet. Don't miss a day. And if you want to be a serious in the world of Hifzh, whatever you know, you must do a review of it at a maximum of 5 juz a day. So 5 juz a day, you review 5 juz. Let's say you know 7 juz. So juz 1 through 5 on the first day, and then 2 through 7 on the second day, and then you just keep going back and forth like that, right? Or you can go 1 through 5 on the first day, then 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and so that you're not missing any ajza, and you're repeating all the juz the same amount of time. So 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Then next day, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So on and so forth. Have you seen a Shia named Sayyid Taqwi? Taqwi or Naqwi? He made a video against you for saying Shia is an innovating sect, and another video against you mentioned the Prophet ﷺ received sihr. Unimportant and irrelevant, to be honest with you. I actually have totally lost interest in the internet. Yeah, all these videos, and he said this, and he said that. Something happened, it's like gone out of my heart. I could care less, to be honest with you. Oh, did you see this video? Somebody said all the shuyukh failed the people of Gaza. No, I'm not watching an hour and a half talk, to be honest with you. Let somebody say what they want. Yeah. Is it possible to be a Maliki and an Athari? Every one of us can be an Athari. An Athari and a Kalami. What's the proof of that? Right? The proof, how? When you're dealing with somebody who does not need ilm al-kalam and will simply benefit from hearing the athar, then you're athari. When you're dealing with somebody whose mind is running around and needs an explanation of mutashabihat, then you're kalami. Right? These are tools. Right? They're tools. And I heard that recently from one of the shuyukh who I need to have on here. I can't remember who told me and what his name is, but I said, let's get him on because he said something that's really smart. Is it kufr if one says the Prophet knows when the day of judgment is? No, that wouldn't be kufr. would not be kufr. Other Wahhabiyya from the deviant sects. Well, insofar as any group is like the Khawarij, making takfir incorrectly, making takfir of the one who commits a major sin, or in that case, saying something halal is shirk is very similar to that. So that in that type of aqidah is what consists of a sect. Would make a group a sect, I should say. That's one of the things that would make a group a sect. Okay. How to react to someone who has become religious after listening to Ghamidi? Should we let him be or try to wean him off Ghamidi and onto someone better? Not better. Better is correlated as good, right? It's not better implies goodness, right? No, someone accurate. It's nice that he had that, and a broken clock is right twice a day too. So I'm sure someone who has really off ideas will bring some good to the world as well. But you do need to inform him that that to get on to something correct. Forget better. It's not better is not the right word here. Ghamidi?
Because I heard a family member like quote him, and I just know he's not good.
You know that?
To tell him.
Do you know that when we were at Apna?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But I don't know who this guy is.
That's Ghamidi. He's a Pakistani man. He's like a zahid type. He's like an ascetic type, and apparently he has some kind of charisma to him. And he's basically doesn't accept. He has his methodology is Quran, and what I think is right and good for people, and not hadith, and definitely no madhab.
So he's a hadith rejector?
Yeah.
He even said that Isra al-Miraj didn't happen.
Yeah, like say again.
He said that Isra al-Miraj is just a dream of the Prophet.
Yeah, he says it's a dream. He has a lot of views that are they're just not acceptable at all. Yeah, they're totally not acceptable. Okay.
He's in Dallas too.
He lives in Dallas now. Yeah.
Dallas now?
Yeah. And they say about him that he's like an ascetic and reads a lot of Quran, but his ideas are like his own ideas. They're not. They don't have any support from, and the evidence will definitely go against him. Clear cut evidence, like qat'i. So that makes a person a mubtada'.
There was a lot of ascetics from the Mu'tazila as well. More than anything.
That's true. Yeah. So, thoughts on Muslim hyper towns like Epic? No thoughts except that no thoughts on that. I mean, those are. I think that Muslims should. There's nothing wrong with living together, but we also have to realize that we're not isolating ourselves, and I don't think they are, by the way. Just because they all live near each other doesn't mean that they're isolated from society, because that's not really necessarily the way in Islam either, to be isolated, but they're not isolated. I think if you grow up in a community like that, it would be good. How could it be bad? We're supposed to be with the Jama'ah. Did Omar who? Omar, your friend from the street, or who? Which Omar? You mean Sayyidina Omar? May Allah be pleased with. Okay, at least he said that. Did he say the Quran has 1 million letters? La adri. La adri. Omar, what was he doing? Was he counting letters, or was he conquering the Byzantines and the Persians? I don't know. Is it permissible to say sallallahu alayhi wa alihi instead of saying sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? It's permissible, yes, but you're missing some good reward by saying wa sallam. Should say that too. Ooh, makruh to leave off the taslim?
Because there's a hadith thing that says that send a complete salah upon me.
Allah says in the Quran, yeah. So you leave off his makruh in the Shafi'i school. I like that. Yeah, that's why we just had permissibility, but okay.
I'm not surprised asking this because he's been asking so many Shia questions and Shia say sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. They don't say salam.
They don't say salam?
No.
Ajib. Why would they not say salam? Why would they not say that?
Ajib, I don't know.
Is Ahmad Rida Khan from amongst the righteous people of our time? No, he's not. He's not in our time. He's, what, 100 years before us, right? Right?
Excellent work, Rajat.
Yeah. Is he from our time? No, he's not from our time. But you mean modern times, I guess? The last 250 years or so? Then, of course. Did any Sahaba say that Surah Al-Ahzab had more verses? Yes, it is, for sure. That's clear hadith on that. That Surah Al-Ahzab was longer than Surah Al-Baqarah, and yet Allah says in the Quran, ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها ومثلها. So there is naskh and there's nasi. And the nasi is the commandment of Allah through Jibreel alayhi salam to no longer recite certain verses as Quran. And hence the Sahaba said, Surah Al-Ahzab was longer than Al-Baqarah. Okay? And now it's shorter, of course. So certain verses were recited in it, and then Jibreel alayhi salam commanded the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that no longer recite from this. I have a problem of overthinking, says the Ugders. I keep worrying about things that don't even exist, like something bad will happen to me or my family. Allah knows best, but it could either be that there is some clinical matters that require medication, and it could be that you just need to remember Allah more, or that you need somebody to just tell you to not have these thoughts. So why don't you try all three? Why don't you try going to a professional? Maybe there is some medical balancing that needs to take place, and you could remember Allah Ta'ala and recite awrad of the morning and evening to these shayateen to leave you. Salah on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And you could talk to people to get you to be reassured that nothing bad's going to happen. And none of these three contradict, so why don't you try all of them and see what happens. But mental illness and shaitans and jinns, they're intertwined and they're one and the same. They end up becoming one, almost indecipherable, because they do cause mental illness or they capitalize on mental illness, where if there's an imbalance in a person. So you can go on both, try both, fix the solution through both. Can we have the Safina Society logo somewhere in the top corner, in my opinion?
Thanks for the opinion.
Okay. Why not? Here's a weird question. What is your favorite food? كلام لا فائدة له. Right? There's no benefit in this talk, right? In this kind of questions, right?
I love lamb though.
Huh?
Lamb.
Lamb? Of course.
You don't love anything.
Or chops. Wait, what's our schedule for this Friday?
Is that
Same thing as usually. We just come after Jummah to the box.
Come here after Jummah. Now, what about the time? Will we take a long time to grill?
It's quick.
Quick? Okay, good.
Just how to marinate.
Good.
When food takes, when we're at a restaurant, it takes time. Anyway.
And how we pitching in for the falooz?
We'll figure that out. That's something we have to talk about. See.
Yeah.
Because like first,
Venmo?
I'll buy it or me or someone.
Okay. Then just tell everyone to Venmo, divide it up. The Venmo. You have Venmo? Download Venmo. What's the dalil for saying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the greatest of creation? His own hadith. Right? أنا سيد ولد آدم ولا فخر. Huh?
Isn't it ijma of the ummah of the scholars dalil anyways?
Of course, ijma. Is there anything in the Quran on this?
Yes, a few ayat. Qadiyah mentions, but
One is rahmatan lil alamin.
Okay, but
Alamin,
that means great.
Alamin means
Oh, he's the mercy to all the worlds, which includes the worlds of prophets.
Alamin means every single thing.
It's every single thing. Yeah, every single thing that exists. But that's not. Yeah, that's azim. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's a'zam. Okay. And well, the proof that it is possible is through the Quran, which is that وَلَقَدْ فَضْلَلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Right? Allah Ta'ala has elevated some prophets over others. Now, how would it make sense also logically? I don't know if this is really a proof, but how would it logically make sense to send the greatest prophet anywhere else besides the end? Right? So that's like but that's just that's not an airtight proof.
Also leading all the prophets in the Isra.
Praying with all the prophets in the Isra and Mi'raj would be, that's like an ishara. The clear cut qat'i proof is the Prophet's own statement. Okay. How should we keep adab for the descendants of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Just general courtesy, extra, the way that you would treat someone who is of position, that or someone that related to somebody you love. Like, you just have to think about it that way. Even if it's 30, 40, actually, if that's like, that's the retro version. You want to keep it up? Keep it up. I like it. We got 2 logos, no problem. That's the retro version. You see that? That's the original. That's the ship on a sunset, because the world is, we're at the end of time, right? And that is the ocean of the dunya. Has good in it, has bad in it, black and white. And
Looks like
huh?
That was better. I like that was on the old black and white
Yeah.
that logo used to go.
Yeah. A what? About the Brilvi tomb. But the thing is that that's also taken from the Islamic art and architecture, what's called the Jagged Ablaq. Jagged Ablaq. Whenever you go to the entrance, there used to be just like gray, white stripes, right? Then at some point they made it curved. So it was taken from that. Does collagen supplement have to be zabiha, halal, and Maliki fiqh? I'd have to look up even collagen has to do with from the bones. So therefore, yes, of course, right? Collagen? Doesn't it have to be the
Sometimes it's extracted from hooves, things like that. When you grind down the hooves are the animals that are ground down. And you extract collagen.
Then it's not the flesh.
Yeah.
You eating hoof? You putting hoof powder in your water? I have to look up collagen and see what the deal is with collagen. Can I follow another madhab if my pimple pops? Can you tell the Maliki ruling on wudu and pimple popping? So we went from Omar's million. Did he say that it has a million things? Then what are the Shia? Then now pimple pop. No, I'll answer him. He's just a kid in summer vacation. No problem. T, I don't know who you are, T, but you got all of our attention with your questions here. The answer is that if a pimple were to pop, you don't lose your wudu, but anything that oozes out of an injury is najis, so you just have to wipe it away. That's it. You have to wipe that najasa away and then clean it with some water, and that's it. Because what oozes out of an injury is najis, right? So that's najis. The content inside of a pimple is najis. So you just have to purify it. That's it. You don't have to redo your wudu. Are Zaydis also Shia? Yes, they are. They're all Shia, of course. It applies to them. Same rules, same thing applies to them. Valid but sinful. Okay, so that's your answer, T. Yes, Ryan, speak.
دليل from the Quran actually.
هات الدليل.
So قال تعالى لعمرك إنهم لفي
سكرتهم يعمهون.
So Ibn Abbas says that this ayah is a ishara on a dalil that Rasulullah is the best of all creation and better than all the prophets because Allah did not swear by anyone else's life except for his life in the Quran.
Subhanallah. So that's a khususi of the Prophet that Allah Ta'ala swore by his life only and never swore by anyone else's life. Okay, yeah, and it's an ishara.
Yeah.
It's an ishara.
Subtle.
Yeah, subtle indicator. What are some good books on dua? You mean the topic of dua or collections of prayers? If it's collections of prayers, then one of the best books is An-Nawawi's Adhkar, which is translated. Do I have to cover my awrah performing wudu? La. It's not from the preconditions or the pillars of wudu to cover your awrah. So a person could be in a bath and make wudu there with his awrah uncovered. My masjid starts the khutbah about 20 minutes before dhuhr and prays after the adhan. Is it valid? It is valid in Hanbali fiqh, I believe. The Hanabila allow that.
Like they say, like same as Eid or something?
They say that the khutbah doesn't need to be before Jummah, before dhuhr. The salah only does. Advanced seerah book. you need to do get Sheikh Said Ramadan al-Bulchis. It is translated. Yeah, the jurisprudence of the prophetic biography. What's the question, Ryan? Yeah, put it in the chat. Can I perform Hajj for my deceased family members if they died as a Muslim only? And you did your Hajj first. Who's the greatest Muslim athlete and why? Not taking the question because it's Abith. Okay. But one person who did make good of his fame was Muhammad Ali. He felt like my fame is a test from God to see whether I'm do good or bad. He was extremely wise, in my opinion, if you ask me.
The way he talks, it's hard to replicate that way of speech.
Yeah.
You see how he talks.
Everything about him, he is a special human being. Of course, this doesn't need to be said. Everyone knows that.
The T spamming the question we answered.
T, we answered. I am a Hanafi when the pimple pops. Listen. First of all, you want a solution?
I'm a Hanafi.
No, it's bricks.
Last time you asked for the reminder.
Listen. You want a solution? Go to the supermarket, ride your bike, cross the street, ask your mom if you're allowed to cross the street. Go to the supermarket, okay, and get fine-grained sea salt. It has to say sea salts. Dissolve it in warm water. And then also go to the other aisle and buy a little spray bottle, okay? Dissolve the sea salt in water, put it in a spray bottle, and every morning when you wake up, and every time you pass by that bottle, spray your face. And sea salt, it sucks out and absorbs out all these pimples, okay? And then stop playing with your pimples because then you have a hole in your face. Then you're going to be spamming in another 3 years why I can't get married because you got craters on your face. Okay.
Also, no spamming in the chat or you're getting banned. Adam, Habib, and T. You guys last warning. No spamming.
What is somebody believes that the verses that were abrogated, whose recitation was abrogated, are not part of the Quran, rather that they were forgotten or consumed by animals at that time? That would be kufr. That would be kufr. Adam Bawamiya got into the spamming game. You were good. Now he's a spammer. Have you read Yasir Qadi's new book? I would I want to read it, but I didn't buy it yet. I'm waiting for the. Is it even out? It's out, but I'm waiting for it out. Okay, so that's Habib's answer, and that's Adam's answer. Okay. Salman S. Is that our Salman S? No, because he says zikr. Our Salman S wouldn't have said zikr.
He does say that.
Our Salman?
He does say zikr, but
Oh. Did you know? Did you know the grave of Zayd ibn al-Khattab, Sayyidina Umar's brother, is now a garbage dump in Riyadh, while he was a shaheed at the Battle of Yamama? A'udhu billah.
I'm not sure that's true. Because,
Ryan's questioning the facts.
because they say that Ibn Abdul Wahab,
Yeah.
when he was in Najd, he saw people would be doing istighatha at his grave. So it was in Najd, it wasn't in Riyadh.
Riyadh is in Najd.
It's it.
It's the capital of Najd. Yeah. Yamama. Riyadh is Yamama.
Khalas.
Yeah. You know Al-Yamama? Where Musaylim al-Kaddab? That's the same vicinity as Riyadh. Look it up.
the same thing with the house of Sayyidah Khadija, three toilets and stuff.
A'udhu billah.
Wait. Is that actually the farm?
I think there is something I want you to play on.
His tomb was destroyed.
Yeah,
by one-
Alif, go to the images. Let's see the images. They have pictures of my farm still. The lonely grave.
No, now it looks.
Seemed like they just leveled it and forgot about it, and then eventually someone came later
Put a trash
and
bin
built
there.
something on there.
Yeah.
Who knows if they knew?
But destroyed
excuse
by Muhammad ibn Abdul.
Yeah. Ajib. Can we pray behind an Ibadi Imam? Well, I can't remember even what the Ibadi Creed is even all about, to be honest with you. But we know that they're listed amongst the deviant sects, so it would be valid but sinful. Next question. Would catching a small fish, hooking it while it is alive, then throwing it back to catch a bigger fish be harm? No, it's not harm. We're allowed to use it to eat, and we're allowed to use it to catch food, bait. It's halal to do that. What commentary of the Ihya do you recommend? In English? لا أدري. I don't have a specific one that I recommend. Do you recommend the summarized, abridged Ihya Ulumuddin? This is it. Yeah, this is good. This is a good book to have. Okay. Sheikh Nazim's teachings. I only saw a couple booklets and a couple videos on zuhud, on nearness to Allah, and those the what I saw was nice, beneficial. Stories of his sheikh, things like that. What do you say of practicing traditional Chinese martial arts for health? Okay. And what about the concepts of the qi and the yin, the yang, etc.? Can we think of them as alternatives and possible medicine? I view it as that. It's a philosophy of the body that fits in medicine and health, not in religion. So therefore, it's a theory on what the body's made up of, etc. And there's no ibadah involved in that. There's no religion involved in that. And if there is, then you just remove that part of it. All right, using AI. Now there's Deen Buddy AI, all that. So we cannot take fatwa from AI. You can only take religious knowledge from a living human being for the sake of verifying that it's actually that's what it is, because AI could have a lot of errors in it, as of course a human could have error in it too, but you need to have human verification in religion. Religion cannot be taken from an inanimate object because of its importance. Secondly, the reason we need asanid. Someone said, why should I take a course when I got AI? The answer is that you don't even know what questions to ask. Someone needs to guide you on what is the right question to ask in the first place. And then secondly, we go to shiyukh, we study with people so that we can have suhbah, so we can have companionship, community, and furthermore, to see how they live their religious life. So how they implement it. That's why Abu Hanifa said stories is better than jurisprudence, because stories show you how it's implemented, not just what the answer is. What does the implementation look like on all those other things? I have a sort of bandage on my toenail, but it covers some areas that aren't affected. Okay? No, like when you put on a bandage, clearly part of it will not be affected, because otherwise how is it going to wrap around? So that's not an issue. So when you make wudu, you just gently wipe over the bandage. That's it. If wet water can touch it. And you only make tayammum if half or more of your limbs, or more than half, of your limbs of wudu are all covered with casts. Can I make dua similar to istikhara in English, in sujood, in a fard salah? Says John R. In the Maliki madhab, the answer is yes, you may. But if you do know Arabic and to use another language, it will be makruh. That's it. It's not invalidate the prayer or make you sinful in the Maliki school. Hanafi school is another story. Ask them. Yeah. You're not even allowed to make any dua of the dunya anyway. Yeah.
Wait, Arabic's fine though, right?
No, you can't do anything that can be asked from the khalq or anything that's not Arabic, of course. Must be something that resembles the dua from the Quran and Sunnah.
I see.
Okay, what is pranked LOL saying here? He's asking a question. My sister is a Muslim, but she doesn't want to marry a Muslim. I try to convince her all the time and she keeps on refusing. I don't know what to do, and my parents don't know about this. Well, of course, to marry a non-Muslim, it's not marriage. Don't say marry a non-Muslim. Say fornicate. Just because one imagines that it's a valid marriage doesn't make it a valid marriage, so we shouldn't speak on what's false. We should describe things to the closest they are to reality. So, summary, she wants to fornicate. That's the truth. There's no such thing as, for example, Muslim marries a Hindu, neither male or female. it's fornication for both. So some guys, my friend married a Hindu. No, your friend fornicated with a Hindu. Why am I saying that? Just to be harsh? No, because to describe things with the reality of what they are is the best way, or the beginning of finding a solution to it. Because when you sanitize it with the word marriage, it seems like there's not much urgency to change it. Okay, so therefore, if fornication, drinking, gambling, a lot of these things, these are all major sins. So you have to do, what would you do if your sister came to you and said, I'm going to go and get drunk? Okay. I think at that point you should involve somebody else who can stop her. You can't stop her. It's just your sister. She's not your daughter, and you're not her father. So you need to contact the person who could stop her. Okay. What if you think they will revert after marriage? That doesn't change the fact that we're going to go with what's now, not what's maybe. Right? So it would have no impact on the fact that it's fornication. So I think that what you should be doing is contacting her wali, who can possibly stop her from committing this disobedience, this major sin. Okay, Samir Parker has a question here. If a man is attracted to another man, he's attracted to men, sorry, but he knows it's not allowed in Islam, should he try to marry or should he stay single? That's a really tough question, and the answer to it, we can put down some principles. The first principle, you cannot marry someone on a false hope in the core of marriage. So one of the cores of marriage is intimacy. You can't not have any desires and then marry somebody, because at that point you're going to do oppression to them. And then you come on the wedding night and you're not interested. Then she went, well, what was the point of all this? I wanted to see if I could possibly, if I'm intimate with someone, see if I would stop being attracted to a male, and become to men and become attracted to females. So you're experimenting with her, right? That's not right. Only if you are certain that you can fulfill your marriage obligations can you marry. All right? That's a condition. If you have doubts about being able to fulfill any of the core marriage obligations, then you cannot marry. Okay? Okay. How can we support someone experiencing intrusive thoughts, struggles about their faith in Islam? The best thing is that it's usually, if it's waswas, if it's like a obsessive thought on something, on the same thing, then your solution is remembrance of Allah to remove that. But if you have like actual logical questions and it's not an obsessive thought that keeps pestering you, but it's just a genuine question about the nature of God, prophethood, revelation, and Islam, then your answer is not remembrance only. It's remembrance and knowledge. And that's why ilm exists, ilm al-Qalam exists to answer these questions. Everyone here is telling basically Adam and T are about to get put in the penalty box, it looks like here. What is the ruling on a triple talaq in one go? Dr. Salah has a fatwa on that. I'll read it another time. But the default is that it does count as 3. It does count as a talaq ba'in. Right? No, but he has another fatwa on it.
Really?
Yeah.
What I heard from his classes is he does 3.
It's like a really strict, like you can try to find
Open it up here. It's based on their tasawwur of what that meant.
What it means, like.
Yeah. What is the best way to motivate men being lazy, physically, spiritually, intellectual, while being broke at the same time? That's a tough one, to be honest with you.
You want to stay in that state?
That's a class. Complete a class.
The thing is this. It takes money to learn. It takes money, and it takes time, which is money in this society, to spiritually grow. It takes time, which is money, to physically get in shape. Now, I mean, you could just not eat, and at least you'll cut the fat. And you could do some push-ups and sit up. Push-ups, planks, squats, calf raises. That covers your 4 muscle groups. You don't need anything for that. You don't need a single piece of equipment for that. You just need to do a lot of it. And you could just not eat, and your fat will go down. So physically, you don't need a lot of time or money for that. Spirituality, yeah, you need time. Sit and do dhikr. You need to be rested. You can't do dhikr if you're tired. Intellectually, it needs time. So it seems to be here, one of the first core of the foundation is to not be broke anymore, to get to work. And that'll be the beginning. So as in this micro analysis that I'm giving here, you could actually get physically good without money or time. But spiritually and intellectually, you need work. You need money for those things, in my opinion. You got to have money. Even intellectually, you could say, well, you could listen to smart people's podcasts. All right? Intelligent podcasts. You can listen to that while you're working. But not everyone can. Some people's job doesn't allow that. I think the root there is to get better in wealth. At least get your head above water in wealth. And the root of all of that is the laziness. And you break the laziness, eventually at some point, looking at your state and looking at others creates a good envy. It creates that, and enough, just I got to get up. I just got to say enough is enough of this. But if you stay home, you don't look at anybody else. You don't expose yourself to anyone else. You don't even go out in the street and look at people or deal with others. And you just stay home to yourself. I think that's not good because there's nothing stirring you. You need to be stirred. You need to be bothered, right? You need to be angered. But sometimes that stuff is actually really good for you. There is a degree where envy is good if it's to move you to get out of your own laziness. Once it becomes that I don't want him to be happy anymore, I want him to suffer and be miserable and be as broke as me, then that's really bad. That's where it's bad. But if it's good, if it's like, if he's doing it, I could do it. This guy is like half the IQ that I got. Why is he succeeding and I'm not? That's what's good. That's the good. That's one of the reasons why mingling in society is good. And people who don't mingle in society, they're basically protecting themselves. They're protecting themselves from being hurt, from being upset. It's not good. Mingle and get better. Get out of these holes. And that's what the stronghold of sultans does. If you need to get better and you need someone to kick you in the rear end and wake up, then you go to the stronghold of sultans. I'd get the website. Madad click. No, it'll put you into shape. Oh, this is a cool logo. Stronghold of, it's a text logo. Forged in trials. What's your question? Yeah, Omar? Street parking. And parking here. Yeah. And people can get together and stuff. Stronghold of, yeah. But no, we can change things up. Whatever Omar decides in Adi. But it's not, I don't want to, we're talking here about our Friday lunches. I don't want to just completely disallow us from going places, but I'm just cognizant that we're sort of poisoning ourselves if we're having cheeseburgers and we're having zinger burgers and fries every single Friday for lunch. We are literally slowly poisoning ourselves. So now some of these places do have better alternatives, but the problem is the grease that they cook in is still a problem. So
I think there's more freedom like this. That's the main thing I was
yeah, there's more freedom in that. But the
A lot of guys
on,
get embarrassed to come. They don't want to pay. I don't know.
Yeah.
fair, no problem. And we'll do this until the winter. In the winter, we'll see what happens. Winter, you mean indoors?
What is buying some weed?
So go to Stronghold of Sultans and get a kick in the pants and hang out with other people who are either in the same boat and trying to get out of it, or they are out of it and they're pulling you out of it. And the question here is that, what's your priority? Okay. If you try to write down all the things that you want in life, well, which has to come first? That's the only one you need to focus on. If I want 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay, but 2, 3, and 4 cannot ever happen unless 1 happens, then why are you thinking about 2, 3, and 4? Just think about 1. Be practical, right? Don't even try to do 2, 3, and 4. Just do number 1 first, because 2, 3, 4 will not happen ever unless 1 doesn't exist. You got to do it. You got to do it. Does RQV have Sirah? Yes, it does. I don't think I saw it, or I must admit, it does have Ulum Nabawiyah, prophetic sciences. It's there. AJ says, is it wrong to not post about Gaza if you are worried about losing your job and have kids? Well, why don't you ask the question like this? Is it fard to post about Gaza? No, it's not fard. So therefore, that's your answer. Showing you how to frame the question properly in the first place. By the way, you could make an Anon account. You can make an anonymous account. And I have an anonymous account. And that's where I see all this stuff. And I see that Americans are fed up with their country literally being taken over by parasite colonialism. There's different kinds of colonialism. When you colonize a nation to live in it, they call that settler colonialism. When you colonize a place just to take its resource, they have another name for that, right? Like the way England colonized other nations just to take the resources from them. What do they call that kind of colonialism? I'd find out for us. That's like your classic British style of colonialism. But then you have parasite colonialism. You go in smiling as if you're one of everybody else, okay? And then you get yourself into media, you get yourself into banking, you get yourself into Hollywood, you get yourself into academia, you get yourself into everything. And then you suck that nation dry, sending all of the money and getting the government to send their tax money to your nation of choice. That's and damaging the nation that you're in. That's the key, is the damage. Damaging the nation that you're in. That's what we call parasite. I'm the one who coined that term. Parasite colonialism. So the U.S. today is literally what Paul Finley said. It's just a colony in terms of its foreign affairs. It is a colony of Israel. It is a colony of Israel. Okay. And if got the classical British colonialism, they call it exploitation colonialism. But literally the U.S. right now, is anyone going to disagree that the U.S. is the tail is wagging the dog, not the dog, the big country wagging the tail, telling the little country what to do. No, the tail is wagging the dog. That's the truth. Is anyone going to deny that or disagree with it? The foreign policy of the United States is concocted in Tel Aviv, where it comes to the most important region in the world, where their wars are going to be. Did the Iraq war and the Afghan war and all these other wars happen for any other reason than that Tel Aviv wanted it? Think about this. If Israel wasn't there, what is the U.S.'s problem with Arab countries? Like what they have no relations at all. There should be no issues at all. Okay? There's literally no issue. And the entirety of the issue and the hatred that does exist from Arabs towards Americans is because of Israel. Right? There will be no issues at all. What's the issue? What is the difference between let's say Egypt and Argentina? It's all the same, except Egypt didn't harbor Hitler and his friends. That's another subject. But Argentina, Chile, Egypt, Sudan. Relative to the United States, who the heck cares? Right? They have no business with each other. That's good or bad. It's just neutral. That's how it would have been. But no. Is it better to get a work in a field that pays more but has spiritual complications, or in a simpler field and pays less and doesn't have spiritual complications? Well, I'm going to tell you that's something you and your advisors and your friends and your family have to judge, and you have to do what benefits you in both. Okay? People judge me for not posting. Tell them I post anonymously. That's the problem here. Okay? People judge those who are silent on LinkedIn. Well, their judging is incorrect. You judge someone on a prohibition or the abandonment of an obligation. Now, I'll tell you who can be judged by that. If you are a political commentator, if you're an imam, you're expected to have you have a platform, and you're expected to say the truth in those platforms. And as long as also they could have an excuse if their nation, their entire country, their government is suppressing them and oppressing them, then they have an excuse to stay silent. But if you don't have that, then you are expected. But if you're like a programmer or an attorney or a pharmaceutical rep or something like that, where you're mingling with everybody all day, your professional life needs to be neutral, then it needs to be neutral. You could speak out in other manners. How many Anon accounts do exist that are really good, by the way? Like they're not just stupid memes. They're actually good commentary on things. But he's Anon. Why? He must be an educated person. Anon is not allowed in religion. Religion and accusations of people, but religion, that's like a heavy responsibility. It needs to be a person. What if there's a mistake? We need to go back to it. We need to know who you are. Okay. All right, we'll take Emna's question and that's it. Emna's question says the following. Where is the question? I see follow-up question, but I don't see the question. Where is the actual... Don't make me scroll up. If someone leaves the fold of Islam, then comes back, do they owe the prayers they missed? Yes. I see the follow-up question. I don't see the actual question. Did I answer the actual question? How can we support someone experiencing intrusive thoughts? Oh, that question. And then the follow-up is that they're listening to ex-Muslims a lot. Tayyib, let's drink poison, okay, and then wonder what's going to happen. Stop drinking the poison, right? Stop drinking the poison. You got to tell them you have to tell them not to listen to this person. So hopefully they could, that will work. Do you have any opinion on the recent criticism of Habib Omar's recitation? Oh, because of the guff. All I know, huh?
I have an answer.
You have an answer to that?
Yeah.
All I know is that in Yemen, they were pretty clear that al-Gaf is an actual Arabic Fasih permitted pronunciation. But Alif, what do you have?
It says the Imam who most chains of recitation go back to, an Imam of the Qira'ah and a Faqih al-Muhaddith, Sheikh al-Islam Zakaria al-Ansari of the Shafi'i Madhab, ruled that this Qaf, called Qaf al-Yabisa or Qaf al-Arab, is valid in recitation.
All right, good. And the camera needs charging. But that's it for us, folks. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.